Eyed Susans and Blue Crabs, Budds Creek, Maryland, site of round 3 of the IHRA Snap-on Tools National Event Calendar for 1997, the Crane Cams President's Cup Nitrous Nationals. I'm Bob Barsha along with Ted Jones. Brett Kepner will be here shortly. Let's pick up the action of the first round of Alcohol Funny Cars. Scott Weiss coming off a win in Bristol, Tennessee, up against number 1 qualifier Larry Dobbs.
This should be a good race. Scott Weiss is qualified only number 16. He's giving Dobbs plenty of problems. What is wrong with Scott Weiss?
Well, he's not in his familiar Ford Mustang, and we'll tell you more about that later on as we move on to our next pair from round 1. Mark Thomas, the 4-time IHRA Alcohol Funny Car World Champion, going up against Rudy McAdams, the number 15 qualifier and a hometown favorite from Elliott City, Maryland.
Mark Thomas, with Rick Hickman doing the wrenching, is making a big comeback this year in Alcohol Funny Car, but he had a hole shot put on him by McAdams. Whoa, Thomas squeaks that one out with a 612. McAdams had a 485 light, almost caught Mark asleep.
A 594 reaction time. He can't do that in the next round. Now here's Bon Smith in the right lane, the reigning world champion in his Atomic City Tool-powered machine out of Oak Ridge, Tennessee. He's racing Jim Sickles from Caledonia, New York.
Smith needs this one if he's going to repeat that world championship. Qualified number 3, equal reaction time. Smith, an easy win, 6:05. We've only sone 5-second run this weekend, Bob.
Budds Creek famous for good air, for making horsepower and good traction, but it's a very warm day today. This is Jim Lape, the number 4 qualifier, against cross-state rival from Pennsylvania, John Rose Jr.
Wow, a 420 light for John Rose. Bear in mind, the 400 light is perfect. He's almost upset Jim Lape. Lape does pull it out with a 6:07. Good thing he had an O in that car.
I hate to see Rose's 56 Ford Crown Victoria disappear, but it does. There's a look at the quarterfinal matchups in Alcohol Funny Car. Now here's Brett Kepner.
Well, gentlemen, the Crane Cams President's Cup Nitrous Nationals has moved around the IHRA schedule a bit. This time placed squarely in the heat and humidity of a Maryland summer. And I do mean heat and humidity. Sometimes during qualifying with track temperatures upwards of 135 degrees and heat indices over 105. But the one thing that has been a saving grace has been the actual facility itself. Maryland International Raceway, even in those incredible conditions, has still produced track record numbers. In Funny Car Eliminator, the very first supercharged alcohol machine that went down this racetrack during qualifying ran in the 5-second zone. It was the first ever 5-second time slip for the driver, Larry Dobbs, in the sports truck Ted Chevy Camaro out of Canada. In Pro Stock Eliminator, absolute and total domination by one individual. The Spring Nationals champ, Angelo Alessi, and his Chevy Monte Carlo from Cleveland, Ohio, ran 4 consecutive passes in the 6.7-second zone, including a 674, when no one else ever got below 6.80 seconds. Pro Modified Eliminator is an all-out brawl between 3 drivers. Number 1 qualifier Tommy Mooney at 6.50 seconds. Number 2 qualifier Scotty Cannon in his new Willys. And Spring Nationals champ Ricky Smith in the number 3 spot in his Corvette. That could be the biggest story of the day. Bob Barsha, I'm almost scared to ask how hot it is out here right now.
Well, let me put it this way, Brett. I'll toss you my sunblock. 94 degrees out there, 61% humidity. Tough here at Budds Creek today. We'll take a timeout and return in a moment. We are here to race. There is the world champion in Pro Modified, Scotty Cannon, loading up the cannonball in the staging lanes. And don't forget the mountain motored Pro Stock, led by world champion John Yoke, trying to get his season back on track. Stay with us.
This is the Coke that came with the cap, that got the special MasterCard, that got the cash, that bought the gas, that powered the car, that carried the boys to the place with the pool, that had the surprise, that changed the lives of both the guys that bought the Coke, that came with the cap, that got the special MasterCard, that got the cash. Got it? Now get the Coke.
These days we could all use more endurance. Say about 24 hours worth. I know I could. And now I've got it. Because now the Odor Fighter's a new high-endurance deodorant lasts even longer. New high endurance lasts a full 24 hours. No one else is this strong, this long. Plus, it's got this new Pure Sports scent, so now you can smell better, longer. Guaranteed. Or call 1-800-PROVE-IT, and Old Spice will buy you a stick of yours. Hey, no matter what you're into, now you've got all the endurance you need. A full 24 hours. Guaranteed.
On and 2 out. Owens to the plate. Third base Coach Woods giving the signals. About the only action we've seen around here today. It's been a long, slow-moving game. In fact, 3 hours have gone by, and we're only in the 6th inning. Owens ready. Steps out. Looks like we've got another conference to the mound. Just a reminder, today's game is a doubleheader, so get comfy. We can be here for a while.
What would you give to be more confident? What would you give for the knowledge it takes to move with certainty through every business day?
Just $3.90 a week brings you the Wall Street Journal. Our personal finance guide and decision maker software is free with your paid 10-week subscription. Call now, 800-248-1300. That's 800-248-1300 for the Wall Street Journal.
Welcome back to a sweltering Maryland International Raceway. Bob Marcia, Ted Jones, and Brett Kepner with you for the Crane Camps President's Cup Nationals in the heart of northeastern door slammer country. And speaking of door slammers, there's one. That's five-time Pro Stock World Champion Ricky Smith, but that's not a Pro Stock car. That's Smith's new Pro Modified ride as he takes on Gary Shearer from Cedar Falls, Iowa, and will go on board with Ricky.
Looks as though Shearer's out front of Ricky. Now you can see Ricky pull beside Shearer and finally pull around him just before the finish line. 6:59 in this heat. That's incredible.
Now we'd expect that kind of a number from a supercharged car. Take a look at the non-qualifiers. Jeter, Gray, Burris, Hunt, Fegley, Stott, all regulars in IHRA Pro Modified competition, but they could not make the cut here at Maryland International Raceway. Now here's another pair in the right lane. Scotty Cannon, the number 2 qualifier and 5-time world champion, going up against Dale Brinsfield.
Dale Brinsfield in that Parts Pro Corvette. Incidentally, his grandfather was the original sponsor of the Sox and Martin team as we see Scotty Cannon break. Dale Brinsfield has the upset of the day with a 671. He sends Scotty Packett back to South Carolina.
Here's a look at the quarterfinal matchups in Pro Modified, and what an upset to see Scotty Cannon out of there. He was the defending champion here at the President's Cup Nationals. Now here's Brett Kepner with the Scott Weiss story in this edition of Drag Review.
After the Spring Nationals of Bristol, everybody should be familiar with Scott Weiss's Sherwin-Williams Ford Mustang. But when's the last time you saw a big Ford emblem on what is obviously a Dodge Avenger body? Well, this turned into the single most dramatic incident here at the 1997 Crane Camps President's Cup Nitrous Nationals.
We ended up going out testing the very next weekend and hurt the car. Ended up in the guardrail right here in Richmond at a home track, getting prepared for this race. In a real quick hurry, Steve Rattel loaned us his car. In 3 days, we sent the body off. Sherwin-Williams painted it for us. We refit everything that we're used to running in air car into his deal. Came down here for Friday. Tried to qualify on 2 shots, and air combination just didn't work in his chassis.
On the Saturday of this event, he had to drive 12 hours north to Cleveland, Ohio, and Norwalk Raceway Park for a special Sherwin-Williams-backed match race that he couldn't miss. After the third of 4 shots, Wise's 6.35-second run in the new Avenger ended up being the bump spot. So car after car after car tried to knock him out of the field. Some came as close as 0.02 of a second, but never knocked him out.
Knowing after that first session that we would bump to the 16th spot, I didn't feel very confident. I felt the night pass would make a lot of folks go faster and we'd get bumped out.
So obviously, with the 2 chances to qualify a new car, he would go to Norwalk and hope that that run, if it got in, stayed in the field to come back to Budds Creek on Sunday to race.
We ended up arriving here about 8:30. We had done nothing but put the car in the trailer from Norwalk, so we had to completely maintain it or pull the pan, pull the clutch. Had a problem in the head, had to pull the head off, so it's been a lot of work even this morning with no sleep.
And with his first round loss, Scott was philosophic. What a long road it's been, huh?
It's been a long road. That was an exciting pass there, but I'm pretty much mentally drained. Ready to get back home, get some sleep, to be honest.
Was it worth it?
I think it was. You know, we struggled and stayed in the points chase. We did what we needed to for our sponsor. We're going to be back.
I think you did above and beyond what anybody should do for anybody.
Thank you, Brett.
It was easily one of the single most Herculean efforts we have seen in professional drag racing in a long, long time. But as Scott said, it all paid off in the end, just as long as somebody gives him some sleep now. That's this edition of Drag Review. And remember, you can get all the news on the new cars and results from every IHRA Snap-on Tools national event inside IHRA's Drag Review magazine. You can subscribe by becoming a member of the International Automobile Association. Simply call the 1-800 number you see on your screen, 1-800-554-9000. With your membership, you'll receive 22 issues of Drag Review magazine, a jacket patch, a membership card, an IHRA rulebook, and, of course, all the benefits that come with being an IHRA member. Join the IHRA family of fast friends. And if you subscribe now, you'll get this copy of Quarter Mile Crashes, the wildest moments in IHRA Snap-on Tools drag racing history, all caught on video.
All right, thanks very much, Brett. Let's go back now to the first round of Pro Stock and catch some of the Mountain Motors in action. Here's Floyd Cheek in his new hometown, Soddy Daisy, Tennessee, up against Richie Stevens from New Orleans, Louisiana.
Richie Stevens, the hottest thing to hit Pro Stock in many years, the current points leader, and look at Floyd Cheek drive right around Richie Stevens to upset him with a 684 and go into round number 2.
Bad news for the teenager from Louisiana. He's gone. And now another story. Here's Angelo Alessi. We heard earlier he had everybody absolutely covered this weekend, preparing for his first round matchup with John Manicalvo. But then there was a problem under the race car.
Alessi running 670s, qualified number 1. You see the crewman there talking with Alessi. He's motioning him to turn off the motor. Satch Gregg, the starter, indicates one single run. You can bet that John Manicalvo is plenty happy about that.
It turns out that Alessi's crew managed to pinch a brake line during routine maintenance. The car was losing fluid on the line. There you see it was coming out from underneath. They had to push him away, and John Manicalvo had an easy pass into the quarterfinals. Among the non-qualifiers, former world champions Billy Huff and Doug Kirk, John Noble, and Carlton Phillips, who won this race 1 year ago. It is tough on the IHRA trail. Now here is a world champion who can tell you exactly what I'm talking about. On the right side of your screen in the blue Ford Thunderbird is John Yoke. Here's his first round matchup against Mark Thomas.
Mark Thomas, who's been staging a big comeback this year, is going to give John Yoke the run of his life. Wow, John Yoke pulls it out with a 685 to Thomas's losing 694. Look at that reaction time.
A 411 will get it done for you more often than not. Here's a look at the lineup for the quarterfinals, and now our table is set for eliminations here at the President's Cup Nationals. We'll be back with more in a moment. There's Mark Thomas, a world champion, preparing to mount up for elimination. Stay with us.
Are you ready for more action, more danger, more impact? Well, your wait is over. The hottest, most intense, extreme Crash Impact of Crash Impact 2. 70 minutes of explosive, heart-stopping crash action. You have to see to believe. All new crashes from Superbikes, Harley Series, drag racing, stock cars, sprint cars, Supercross, Indy cars, flat track, and more. All jam-packed on 2 tapes for only $19.95. Order now and get absolutely free. The new Extreme Sports Virtual Reality, featuring insane extreme sports from around the world like you've never seen before. You'll get the all-new Crash Impact 2, plus the Extreme Sports Video free. 3 tapes that'll blow you away. Guaranteed or your money back.
To order, call 1-800-997-2992. That's 1-800-997-2992. Or send $19.95 plus $5.95 shipping and handling to the address on your screen.
Hello, Queen of England here. One doesn't mean to interrupt your afternoon of sport, but you know, if a bit of revelry mixed with a healthy dose of jubilation is your cup of tea, then you really should try our Major League Soccer on telly. Terribly exciting lads, yes they are. You simply don't find fancier footwork than that provided by Kobe Jones. Oh, marvellous, simply marvellous. So, do give it a look. Barkeep, a pint for everyone on the monarchy.
Welcome back to Maryland International Raceway on a very warm day here in the heart of Blue Crab Country. We are ready for Alcohol Funny Car quarterfinals, and our first matchup features the reigning world champion. There he is, Vaughn Smith from Oak Ridge, Tennessee. He'll be going up against number 11 qualifier Mike Presler from Salisbury, North Carolina.
Mike Presler, incidentally sponsored by Standback, who put up an award for the guy that had the hardest time and overcame it for the weekend. Well, that was, of course, Scott Wise, who's out. Vaughn Smith, number 4 in the points, needs to make an important move right here if he's going to defend that world championship.
Slide advantage off the line for Vaughn Smith in the right-hand lane, and then some porpoising from the car in the left lane. Vaughn Smith wins.
Nice 5:04 reaction time. Combine that with a 6:0, and that's what it's going to take to get the job done here today.
Over in the pits, there's Ricky Smith. Like most of the racers, when it comes to things like the clutch, he'd rather do it himself. Now our next pair in Alcohol Funny Car. There's the sub-6 second Larry Dobbs, number 1 qualifier from Welland, Ontario, Canada, going up against Paul Zagoda, the number 9 qualifier from Cheektowaga, New York, up in the Buffalo area.
Well, give the advantage to Dobbs, a 5.99 in this stifling heat. The only 5-second run this weekend. He's the fastest guy in the pit area right now.
Big advantage off the line for Zagoda. And he runs away from the #1 qualifier, making it look easy.
Zagoda 6.09. Dobbs could only muster up a 6.12 and took a nap on the starting line, too.
Over in the Pro Modified pits once again, there is Shannon Jenkins, former crew chief for world champion Tommy Mooney. Now Mooney's opponent running some of Mooney's old equipment. We'll get to that story later on. Now here is Mark Thomas and the beautiful ethanol-sponsored machine going up against Mick Steele, who had never won a round of competition until he won in the first round against Bunny Burkett, back from injuries. Good to see Bunny back at the racetrack.
Mark Thomas, #3 in the point, staging very carefully, and he looked to be late off the line. Yes, look at the advantage for Mick Steele. A great hole shot of 4.26. Remember now, 400 is perfect, but Mark Thomas was very slow in the first round of competition when he nearly lost to Rudy McAdams. Look one more time, and you can clearly see, watching the far lane, look how slow Mark Thomas is. A 5.70 reaction time. He ran a 6.19, which was a lot faster, but he couldn't overjump that starting line handicap.
Now, as Yogi used to say, here is deja vu all over again. A rematch of last year's Alcohol Funny final. Jimmy Rector from Vernon, Alabama, up against Jim Lape from Myerstown, PA.
Add irony to it, they qualified #4 and 5 right there against each other. How many times did these guys run one another? Rector, the runner-up at the Spring Nationals, Lape, the runner-up at the Winter Nationals, gives the starting line advantage to Rector.
But only slightly, and he absolutely motors away from his old rival. Strong run for Rector. So here's a look at the semifinals of Alcohol Funny Car. By virtue of the quicker ET, Von Smith will have lane choice in his meeting with Mick Steele, and Paul Zagoda will decide which lane Jimmy Rector will run in. As you can see, Pro Modified rolling to the staging lane. We'll be back with Ricky Smith and company when we return to Maryland International Raceway. There's Todd Tutterow. He is ready to go. We'll be back.
My partner. Right.
My reputation.
I deliver pizzas in it. What? I gotta count on a ladder all the time.
Toyota Corolla.
It's our first car together.
The ocean is always here.
What can you count on? In the past 29 years, over 23 million people answered.
My Corolla.
The 1997 Toyota Corolla. The most trusted car in the world.
Our Corolla.
Let's see how this detergent holds up to the amazing cleaning power of Sprite. Not bad, but let's see the difference Sprite can make. There you have it. Sprite. Lousy on stains, tough on thirst.
I understand the concept. Sports news, updates, highlights whenever you want them. But why? What is this need to spoon-feed everyone everything instantly? Instant coffee, instant lotto, instant drive-through feed me now burger chains, instant cameras, instant credit, instant pudding. Actually, I like instant pudding, especially tapioca.
Welcome back to Maryland International Raceway. The President's Cup Nationals continue. Bob Barsha, Ted Jones with you. And before we go any farther, let's lend kudos to track operator Roy Miller and his crew, who have made this a very raceable drag strip under some very tough conditions. Pro Modified quarterfinals. There's Michael Martin, the #7 qualifier out of Pageland, South Carolina. He's going up against Dale Brinsfield from Greensboro, North Carolina, using the smallest engine in the class, only 632 cubic inches.
And that small engine is the one that stopped Scotty Cannon in the first round. Michael Martin, incidentally, could stop Dale Brinsfield very easily here. He's #5 in points. He qualified #1 at the Spring Nationals, so he could uncork one of those 650 runs at any second.
Slight advantage off the line to Brinsfield, but Martin drives around him 661 at 214 miles an hour.
We'll take a look at the second half of this race, because that's where Michael Martin powered on at 214 miles per hour to pick up the win.
On to our next pair now. There is Ricky Smith, the 5-time Pro Stock World Champion, venting nitrous oxide, purging the system. Incidentally, for the second straight race, our 16-car qualified field contains all big engines with nitrous boosting. No supercharged qualifiers whatsoever. Get a quick look at Ricky Smith's opponent, Brian Gamm from Lucasville, Ohio.
Very similar to these cars, both 63 split window Corvettes, both 705 cubic inch big block. Are you ready for this? Pontiac engines. Give the starting line advantage to Tricky Ricky with a 4:62 reaction time, and Brian Gamm is out of it. Ricky storms through with a 6:63, 211 miles per hour. Watch out, he may win this one.
Now we'll take an onboard ride with Ricky Smith.
You can hear Ricky going through the gears. You see him reach up and hit the parachute.
This seems like an appropriate time for Subjects Technological. Here's Brett Kepner with a track fact.
Yeah, it only took Scotty Cannon one race to figure out his new nitrous combination, but let's face it, he's won world championships with carburetors before. But things have changed since then. That's why there's a lot of new stuff on the outside of Cannon's Eagle Racing engine. First of all, you'll notice no collector headers. These are funny car style zoomies. Now, this is something a lot of people said wouldn't work on one of these engines. They had to be collector type tuned equal length headers. Cannon says these work better on the dyno. And something else that's new in there are special spark plug wires from crane cams called fire wires that Cannon says has stopped a critical problem in nitrous cars. And that's when the cylinders are loading up with a second stage of nitrous, the want of the spark charge to escape from the engine. In fact, at night, you can look under the front ends of these cars and see sparks going all over the place. Right now, with these new plug wires, Cannon says all the charge is under control. Maybe that's why he's at the top of the list again.
Scotty Cannon never very far from the top of the list, but right now he is out of competition. And here is the 1995 world champion Tommy Mooney, who broke a string of 4 consecutive championships for Scotty Cannon. His opponent, Wally Stroop, another of the drivers like Ricky Smith, over from Pro Stock into Pro Modified.
Tommy Mooney, who had that runner-up finish to Ricky Smith recently at the Spring Nationals, trying to regain another world championship here. This should be a good race.
Now the pair of 63 Corvettes, 2 North Carolina drivers who know each other well, but problems for Stroop right off the line. Easy pass for Mooney.
The #1 qualifier clicks it off with a 6:56, 212 miles per hour. He's found the combination.
That's the quickest ET we've seen thus far in class. Now backing in after their burnouts. Now you're not seeing double. This isn't a Corvette. This is the 41 Willys of Shannon Jenkins from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And there is Todd Tutterow, his opponent out of Louisville, North Carolina, another 63 Corvette. As I mentioned earlier, Shannon Jenkins helped bridge Tommy Mooney to the 95 World Championship and then moved into the driver's seat last year. Now here he is with Mooney's old equipment in the race.
Todd Tutterow, #1 in points, is out of shape, has to lift, and that's all Shannon Jenkins needed. He punches it through to go into the semifinals with a 6:85.
Oh, and Jenkins had plenty of traction problems of his own, but here is Tutterow's launch.
Watch Tutterow. He seems to be going straight just as he gets to the end of the concrete pad. Watch what happens. He begins scooting sideways. Had he not lifted briefly to square that car up with the racetrack again, he would have been right into that concrete wall.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, these guys have to be able to drive. Semifinals in Pro Modified, Michael Martin will have lane choice over Ricky Smith, and Tommy Mooney will have lane choice when he meets his old wrench, Shannon Jenkins. We'll be back. There is John Yoke, strapped in for battle. Mountain Motored Pro Stocks coming up.
And so, after 35 years, I return to Russell, Kansas, to my friends and my family, to that very special place where they always called me by my first name. Great lunch. Barb, take a check.
Of course, Bob. Can I see some ID? Driver's license?
Considered the Visa check card? It automatically deducts from your checking account everywhere Visa's accepted. No ID needed. It works like a check, only better.
I just can't win.
Win the grand prize, the Powerade Under the Cap promotion, and they'll build you your very own sports facility where you can end up spending your days, nights, months, years, your whole life constantly training. Pretty cool, huh? Other prizes include Powerade branded athletic gear, discounts at Champ Sports, and free Powerade. Odds of scoring are 1 in 4, so check Under the Cap. Powerade, I'm not done.
Next up in the 97 Tour de France, riders look to make up time and conquer the famed Circle of Death in the high altitudes of the Pyrenees. The Tour de France, Stage 9, tomorrow at 7:30 on ESPN2.
DC United versus Kansas City, Saturday at 8:30, MLS on ESPN2.
Welcome back to the President's Cup Nationals. There you see a Pro Stock mountain motored machine. You want 1,500 horsepower on racing gas? You got it. Our first matchup will be Tim Neighbors out of Lawrenceville, Georgia, going up against John Montecalvo from Center Moriches, New York, out on Long Island.
Well, Montecalvo on the bubble, number 16 qualifier, not even supposed to be here, but he upset Angelo Alessi. Not by his doing, by the weakness of a $2 brake line. Nonetheless, he'll take it.
Advantage off the line for Neighbors, and Montecalvo out in the middle of the racetrack hits the timing light protector, and he will be disqualified.
And very wisely, Montecalvo lifted too, because he might have T-boned right into the side of Neighbors. Let's look at it one more time. We'll try and see what happens. Right off the end of that pad, there it is. The last 50 feet or so of that concrete pad, he starts spinning, gets out of shape, touches the center line, wipes out the 300-foot marker, and decides better shut it down.
So much for the battle between a pair of 97 Chevy Monte Carlos. On now to a pair of 97 Ford Probes. John Koenig chauffeur from Otterville, Ontario, Canada, against the Professor Roy Hill from Sophia, North Carolina. 812 and 810 cubic inches of power, respectively.
John Koenig chauffeur, you're looking at his car right there, the guy that stopped the number 3 points man, Aim Object. Roy Hill qualified number 12, Koenig chauffeur number 4. But the Professor has the experience. He starts out by pulling a whole shot on Koenig chauffeur with a 4:86 reaction time. You notice, looking inside the car, you never saw Koenig chauffeur. That's because Roy's there first. Identical ETs, 688 for the pair of them. The whole shot won it.
Doing maintenance between rounds, you had a look at Ricky Smith. There is Shannon Jenkins, and you can tell with that towel around his neck and the bottle of ice water in his hand, this is hard work. On to our next pair from London, Ohio. We'll have David Jenkins in a 96 Chevy Monte Carlo, and Thomas Lee from Kingsport, Tennessee, in a 97 Ford Probe.
Tommy Lee just up out of the Super Rod Sportsman ranks, doing very well with this new sponsorship from Race Scan Radios. He's running with the pack, qualified well with a number 6 position, and a great hole shot. Thomas Lee, a perfect 400 reaction time. That could be all he needs. No, David Jenkins barely nips him. A 692. Lee couldn't turn the 6-second ET. Turned a 701, or he'd have won that.
Over in the pit area, you see work being done on the clutch discs. Those things take tremendous heat and pressure, and they have to be absolutely straight and true. That was Von Smith's pit. There is Floyd Cheek, who's been the star thus far this weekend. You see he's already posted equal top speed of the meet thus far. His opponent, John Yoke, the reigning world champion, looking for his first win of 1997.
Remember, Cheek is the guy that stopped Richie Stevens, the current points leader and the hottest thing going. So now can he stop the world champ, John Yoke, who qualified number 2 instead?
Cheek, famous for his enormous displacement engines. He's been caught by the field at 812 cubic inches in his Ford Probe. Oh, and I think he heard it, but he won.
They both may have heard it, Bob. It looks as though John Yoke tossed a belt. If that was an oil pump drive, he may have hurt that motor seriously.
Well, Floyd Cheek gains lane choice in his semifinal matchup with David Jenkins. Roy Hill will pick lanes over Jim Neighbors. That'll be an interesting round of Mountain Motor Pro Stock. Time for Alcohol Funny Car. You see the flame retardant boots and suit going on Jimmy Rector as he gets set to move into the lanes. We'll be back.
Muscles when you need it.
I am not done.
Hi, I'm Jerry Rice, and this is a throwback. Your own personal quarterback.
Introducing the football you can play with by yourself. It's so easy to use. Just put on the wristband and throw the ball. The throwback is ready when you are.
Throwback.
Once you pick it up, you won't put it down.
See how many times you can catch it in a row. $1,000,001, $1,000,002, $1,000,003.
To order your Jerry Rice Throwback, have your credit card ready and call 1-800-819-7600. You must be 18 or older to call. Or send check or money order for $19.95 plus $4.95 shipping and handling to Jerry Rice Throwback, 6960 Eastgate Boulevard, Lebanon, Tennessee. Or call 1-800-819-7600.
Do you want to make more money? Then call this toll-free number to find out how easy it is to train at home for a better career. At ICS, more than 10 million men and women have prepared for new careers without ever setting foot inside a classroom. And now at home, in your spare time, you can get your diploma or degree. Choose from any one of these courses. Then call toll-free for free information about training with ICS.
Call 1-800-241-1839 right now for free information. There's no obligation. That's 1-800-241-1839.
Welcome back to Maryland International Raceway as the action continues at the Crane Camps President's Cup National. We are ready for semifinal action in Alcohol Funny Car. Engines producing more than 2,000 horsepower, even on a hot day like this, and that's because of supercharging. There you see Von Smith, the reigning world champion, trying to score valuable points, but he's up against an interesting opponent in Mick Steele from Loganville, Georgia.
Mick Steele, who can do no wrong here, has been on a lucky man's romp at this event. And speaking of luck, Von Smith is out of the race. His reverser has broken on that car. He can't back up and stage the car. He'll have to idle through. So the Ditch Witch sponsored car will get a gimme into the finals.
And as you see, Steele has been earning it with great reaction times. Will he lift or will he put on a show?
Well, he took it kind of easy with a 7:21 reaction time, but he cranks out a 6:24 with a good reaction time. That could win the event. Maybe, if his luck keeps up.
Well, it's better to be lucky than good, as the saying goes. There's Tommy Mooney up to his elbows in preparations for Pro Mod. Here's Brett Kepner.
How many world champions can you beat in one day, buddy?
Hey, when it's your day, it's your day. I've been looking for a little racing luck the first couple of races, and they ain't come our way, but you know, I'm just glad for Ditch Witch and everybody that's on board with me.
Yeah, you guys worked a long time with your match race cars just to get a sponsor. Now that you got a big deal, man, you couldn't have a better day than this so far.
Hey, I'm not complaining a bit. I mean, till today, I hadn't even won a round of IHRA competition.
Oh, it's tremendous. Congratulations, buddy.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
By the way, at 23.
Thanks.
He likes that 23. Now pulling up into the staging lanes. That's a signal from the crewman. Lights up those rear tires to lay down two sticky strips of rubber for optimum traction. That's Jimmy Rector, ready to go up against Paul Zagota in a battle of veterans.
Jimmy Rector currently number 2 in points. If he wins this round against Paul Zagota, he will take the points lead, whether he's winner or runner-up. And Paul Zagota has the body up. Looks like they're having some difficulty in getting that car to light. They stopped trying.
And that is the answer to your question, Ted. Jimmy Rector will take the victory here in the semifinal round. And it's a walkover. Paul Zagota could not answer the bell. Now let's see what Jimmy Rector will do with a solo.
Remember, Mick Steele ran that 6:24. Let's see if Rector can beat it to get lane choice. He's on a pass. 6:12. Look at the speed. 228 miles per hour. I would say Mick Steele just ran out of luck.
He will meet Jimmy Rector in the finals of Alcohol Funny Car, and Rector with the quicker ET will have lane choice. That should be an interesting matchup. Now in a moment, the Pro Modifieds will be on the track, and on the track at the moment, checking temperatures is Ricky Smith. Still seems hard to associate Tricky Ricky with the Pro Mods after all the years in the Mountain Motored Pro stocks. He, of course, was the king of the Mountain Motor. One of his old machines that helped take him to 5 world championships. You can imagine the surprise when he rolled out a Pro Mod this year. Brett Kepner asked him why.
Even in the super modified days, it seemed like your whole career was geared toward pro stock. That's where you stayed. That's where you were most popular. Why are you in these cars?
Well, Brett, it's just right now we don't have a sponsor. I got some associate deals, just, you know, some small deals. People help me out. Good friends is what it is. and the pro stock and both sanctioned bodies have just got real expensive, so the pro mod thing was the only thing I could afford to race, and as long as I'm racing, I'm happy. It hasn't changed a bit. Don't look like since I've been in pro stock. It's just when I was in pro stock, I could feather the throttle. These cars here, you cannot get off the throttle. Once you get off the throttle and turn the nitrous back on, the car goes crazy. So what I'm telling you, I want to race. I don't care if it's a go-kart, bicycle. I want to make a living at it. And the pro mod thing, I'm just tickled to death with right now. I got no, which way I go. I'm real tickled to be in this pro mod car right now. There's some real good cars over here right now. I'm fighting, and Mooney and Shannon Jenkins and Scotty, and Michael Martin's a good racer around home, and well, I mean, Todd Tedero. Hey, it's just over who's got a little luck on Sunday, and can do the clutch right and get them down these racetracks.
Nobody gets down to racetrack, including hitting the green lights like Ricky Smith. We'll be back with Pro Mod here in Maryland.
This commercial is rated H for high laughter content. It contains adult language.
You're a dirty old man, you know that? And I'm gonna be one till I'm a dead old man.
And the irascible Fred Sanford on video.
These twins is waiting to meet your lips.
Sanford & Son, the collector's edition. Your first video is only $4.95 with subscription and contains 4 hilarious episodes. It includes graphic content.
Say, what does sangria mean? It means blood.
And it's partially available in Espanol.
Buenos dias, huh? And beans and disease to you.
Sanford & Son, your first 4-episode video is only $4.95 with subscription.
Oh, this is the biggest one ever had. You hear that, Elizabeth? I'm coming to join you, honey.
To get your first video of Sanford & Son, the collector's edition, for only $4.95 plus $3.59 shipping and handling, have your credit card ready and call toll-free 1-800-368-1144.
ReTV, America's keeper of classic TV.
RPM tonight, Monday through Saturday at 7 and Sunday at 8, only on ESPN2.
Back at Maryland International Raceway, the Pro Mods are rolling into the staging lanes, but here's Brett Kepner with a Pro Stock story.
Well, gentlemen, a tremendous sigh of relief could be heard all through the pit area from Floyd Cheek's crew when they took the front end off and found out it wasn't the engine, it was the oil line. It broke an oil line, put oil everywhere so bad they thought they killed a motor. But amazingly, on that exact same pass, John Yoke, who lost the round, blew a motor to bits. And you said something pretty amazing to Mike Baker, the chief technical director.
Yeah, I thanked him for the rule that we just got this year for the engine blankets. And my blanket is completely full apart. So if it wasn't for that, we'd be getting a race car too. So at least now it's just the motor. So
those ballistic blankets went on pro stockers last. There was a lot of resistance from pro stock drivers about putting them underneath the engine.
Oh yeah, and we were the same way. Why do we need a blanket? No pro stockers ever blow the motor. And then here it happened. So I'm very, very thankful they did.
Takes a man to say that, and we're certainly glad you're fine.
Thank you.
Right, that could have been a nasty crash with parts all over the racetrack. Let's move to the Pro Modified semifinals now, and our first matchup will be Michael Martin out of Pageland, South Carolina, against the similar '63 Corvette of Ricky Smith from King, North Carolina.
Watch Tricky Ricky. This guy is apt to pull a rabbit out of a hat. He's been doing it for years. That's why he won 5 Pro Stock World Championships. What makes you think anything's changed just because he's over in Pro Modified?
Recall earlier, he said he's had to get used to driving these cars. You have to be flat on the floor, no feathering the throttle, and you have to get the clutch combination absolutely perfect.
And you have to be quick on the lights. Ricky Smith, 4:45 reaction time. That's what he's done. It's over for Michael Martin. Ride it off. Take it home. Ricky Smith, 661.
Gee whiz, Ted, tell us how you really feel.
Let's go for a ride with Ricky Smith. Watch the front end of the car now. You can see his stage. Up it comes. And you'll see he was out first on Michael Martin. Then as he goes through the gears, he pulls away. It's over.
No steering input, straight and true all the way down.
You know the number, but you don't know about the 4:45 reaction time.
Hey, I had to be ready because I know I got a good race coming up, and Michael's always wore me out on the starting line home, so I just had to pay attention. I moved way over out of the groove, made a decent run, Hey, win the final. That's what I love.
Points.
Points.
That's right. Those points are precious. There's a championship to be won. Now here's an intriguing matchup. Tommy Mooney, the 1995 world champion, against Shannon Jenkins, who challenged for the title last year when Mooney was surprisingly uncompetitive. There you see Mooney, who has run 650 with a 3 in tremendous heat. Earlier, Brett Kepner asked him why he was running so strongly.
Tommy, a year ago would not have been humanly possible for a nitrous-injected car to go 650 in 95-degree temperatures. What in the world have you found?
I really can't tell you. No, it's like I told you at Bristol. I think we just kind of wasted the whole year last year, and probably the first year or right about now, we're where we thought we would have been last year. The run 650, it surprised me in the heat of the day, but I don't know. And what I did find, I'm not telling right now anyway.
That's a racer's answer.
Now we get to the truth. You see, he does know, but he doesn't want to share it. Not so much with Shannon Jenkins, his teammate, but with Scotty Cannon, who's having problems switching over to nitrous oxide.
As we mentioned, no supercharged combinations at all in the field for the second straight race, and there was only one in the season opener at Darlington. Great drag race to the line. Mooney takes it.
Mooney with a 6:54. There's that 50 number again. Shannon Jenkins, incidentally, had the hole shot, but only ran a 61. Let's look at that race one more time, and you'll see the hole shot by Shannon Jenkins. He's out first, but Tommy Mooney has horsepower. When they get down to about the 8th mile mark, 660 feet, you'll see the speed begin to pick up. Mooney runs 213.
Tell you what, whatever you know, I know, you don't want to tell us, but whatever you know is the most valuable commodity in this class right now, 654.
I don't know what to say. I mean, I don't know. I mean, just to be here right now is just, I don't know, a feat in itself, I guess. I got to thank all the people that's kind of, you know, stood behind us. We had a terrible year last year, and this guy back here has probably helped me more than anybody, so I don't know what to say.
All you got to say is points. Well,
I get another shot at him. That's what I want. Thanks, Rick.
Oh, you don't think that Tommy Mooney and Ricky Smith have raced each other time and time again over the years? This is going to be a great pro-modified final. Tommy Mooney, the #1 qualifier, against Ricky Smith, #3. Watch out for Tricky Ricky. We'll take a break. One more piece of business to decide our finalists in pro stock. Stand by.
On and 2 out. Owens to the plate. Third base coach Woods giving the signals about the only action we've seen around here today. It's been a long, slow-moving game. In fact, 3 hours have gone by, and we're only in the 6th inning. Owens ready. Steps out. Looks like we've got another conference to the mound. Just a reminder, today's game is a doubleheader, so get comfy. We could be here for a while.
At Boston Market, we'll carve you a real home-style meal. From rotisserie chicken, turkey breast cooked in its own natural juices, thick double-sauced meatloaf, or juicy Boston hearth ham. Then, of course, there's our delicious Boston Carver sandwiches, always hot and hand-carved, and our 16 mouth-watering side dishes. Now, here's a deal. Buy any one of our Boston Carver sandwiches and add any side and a drink for just $1 more. The Boston Carver combo, only at Boston Market.
I worked Foghatch Rock and Roll Outlaws tour, so I know about groupies. I took a psychology course at the community college, so I understand what these WNBA groupies are going through. I empathize. Discovering love for fundamentally superior basketball. But on the other hand, I find them to be, losers. I mean, for most guys, it's legs. For them, it's usually a nice fall-away jumper.
New York, Cleveland, tomorrow at 7:30 on ESPN.
Welcome back to Maryland International Raceway. The sun's growing low in the sky, and welcome, because that'll bring the temperatures down just a bit from a high of 94 degrees. Pro stocks roll in for their semifinals. Before we watch them in action, though, let's take you back to 1996 here at Maryland International Raceway. The Pro Modified final featured Scotty Cannon in his old 63 Corvette in the near lane, Carl Moyer in the far lane. Cannon had dominated, qualifying at 6.41 at 219 miles an hour.
And they still have plenty of heat and not a lot of air. It looked as if Moyer was going to win when Scotty nosed him out, running a 6.54. Sounds like the numbers they're running here today, but remember, that was a year ago.
And a lot of people questioned whether Scotty was on the level. In the Pro Stock final, Doug Kirk went up against Carlton Phillips.
We haven't seen the Jelly Bean this year except when Kirk borrowed it at Bristol to try and qualify. Carlton Phillips picked up his only victory that year.
In the Alcohol Funny Car final, Jimmy Rector in the far lane went up against Corky East.
And Jimmy Rector won that with a hole shot, a 470 reaction time of 6:02 to Corky East losing 6:01 at 232 miles per hour.
That's the kind of action we're used to here as we get ready for the Pro Stock semifinals. Incidentally, the interview that Brett Kepner got from Scotty Cannon after that victory last year is still remembered. Cannon answered his critics big time. In our Pro Stock semis, Roy Hill, right there out of Sophia, North Carolina, goes up against Tim Neighbors in the bright red machine out of Lawrenceville, Georgia.
The number 9 and 12 qualifiers, but more importantly, this is the battle everybody likes because it's the age-old fight in motorsport of Chevrolet against Ford, with Roy having, of course, the 810 cubic inch John Causey prepared Ford engine.
On board with Roy Hill, and you saw the red light. Come on, Hill tripped the red bulb. It'll be an automatic victory for Tim Neighbors.
Well, they say if you don't red light once in a while, you're sleeping, so Roy decided to prove him right. Incidentally, he wasted a 688 to Neighbors winning 692. Watch it off the line. You can see Roy turns it on with a 370.
Jimmy Rector's up to his old tricks. His crew just now swapped superchargers, and they made sure that nobody saw him when they did it. That leads me to believe that he just wants to make sure he has a little extra with a nice, fresh, re-stripped air compressor up there for the Steele brothers in the final round with their Ditch Witch Dodge Avenger. Now, keep in mind, Rector's been in this position many times before. The Steele brothers, first time ever. Rector knows all about the pressures of a points chase. Steele brothers, they're just trying to win their first ever drag race. Jimmy Rector knows how to win at this drag strip. Steele brothers, maybe they can learn something. Maybe they'll be teaching.
All right, thanks, Brett. Amazing the amount of work that needs to get done between rounds, even if you don't hurt parts on the engine. Meanwhile, over in the Steele brothers pits, there is Rick Hickman. Now, he's the crew chief for Mark Thomas, who was eliminated in the first round by that man, Mick Steele. He's lending a hand. He wants to see these guys who are way down in points knock off Jimmy Rector in the final. Well, that's a piece of business still to be decided. Right now, the second half of our Pro Stock draw. David Jenkins over there in the far lane going up against Floyd Cheek.
This is another Chevrolet versus Ford battle, 812 cubic inches of Monte Carlo powered Chevy against Floyd Cheek, who of course is running an 812 cubic inch big block Ford. The fans love this Chevy Ford matchup. Jenkins qualified number 3. Almost equal right off the starting line. Let's see if Floyd Cheek can crank out another 680. He's been consistent. There it is. 685 like a bracket racer.
So Floyd Cheek will go to the final. Here's another look at the launch. Just 1/1000th of a second apart in reaction time.
And you can clearly see they were side by side all the way down. Floyd Cheek ran a 685. David Jenkins lost with a 689. They both ran 202.
Well, you look a lot happier now.
Oh, definitely a lot happier. Had an oil filter come loose last round. Thought we blew the engine up. Turned out it wasn't. Everything come out okay. And we won the round.
85, you got lane choice.
That's great. We're right where we need to be, I think.
By the way, considering both you and Jenkins are so good on the tree in the last couple of seasons, they were both in the 440s. That was a good race.
That's good. My life was threatened that run if it wasn't.
Good job.
Thanks.
Always good fun. Floyd Cheek will go up against Tim Neighbors in a battle of the Mountain Motor Pro Stocks in the final. Floyd Cheek, as you heard Brett say, will have lane choice. It is happy hour here at Maryland International Raceway. Finals coming up. There's Jimmy Rector climbing aboard, getting strapped in, about to fire engine. We'll be back for Alcohol Funny Car Finals to lead things off when we return.
This is the Coke that came in the case, that carried the special MasterCard, that got the cash, that bought the rod, that fought the fish, that found the spot, that made the day for the lucky guy that bought the Coke that came in the case, that carried the special MasterCard, that got the cash. Got it? Now get the Coke.
In the world of exercise, nothing is more basic than dumbbells. Nothing is more versatile or more effective. Now Solaflex has improved on dumbbells, making them safer, convenient, and comfortable. Solaflex has been making the finest barbell equipment for 20 years. Now we proudly introduce the best dumbbells ever made.
On sale now. Call now for your free brochure.
I understand the concept. Sports news, updates, highlights whenever you want them. But why? What is this need to spoon-feed everyone everything instantly? Instant coffee, instant lotto, instant drive-through feed me now burger chains, instant cameras, instant credit, instant pudding. Actually, I like instant pudding, especially tapioca.
Sun here in Maryland. It's time for the finals at the Crane Camps President's Cup Nationals. Bob Barsha, Ted Jones, Brett Kepner with you. We'll kick things off with Alcohol Funny Car.
Bob, this has to be the Cinderella story of the weekend. Mick Steele from Loganville, Georgia, who had never won a single round of competition in IHRA trim, is going up against Jimmy Rector, the guy that almost won it all last year.
5 IHRA career wins, most of them last year. There you see Steele's machine out of Loganville, Georgia. Both cars, 97 Dodge Avenger bodywork. Both of them 526 cubic inch Keith Black blocks.
Now remember, Mick Steele has been cutting those incredible 420 reaction times. Rector, on the other hand, has been cutting 5.0 reaction times. So you can bet Mick Steele will try to strap a gate job on Jimmy Rector. If he can do it, he has a shot at winning this race, although he's been running a tenth to 1500ths off of the ET mark.
Rector, the first man to come to the staging line. Up come the Revs. Watching the tree.
Watch Mick Steele. There's the gate job. A 425 to a 501 reaction time. Mick Steele is out on Jimmy Rector. Mick Steele picks up the win.
An amazing driving job by Mick Steele, who treed Jimmy Rector and then had his hands full all the way down. Watch the car in the right lane leave on Rector only slightly, and then watch it nosing around in that right-hand lane. Steele drives it through and wins by a hair.
The little guy wins it all, buddy. All today. Oh, yeah! We had the horseshoe. It was our day today. Woo! Lordy, what a life.
There is nothing quite like the look of the face of a first-time winner when that helmet comes off. And what a day this guy has had. I mean, let's face it, you beat world champions left to right in the final round. You're 620, his losing 613.
Unbelievable. I told you earlier the driver had to do it, and we did it. Holy smokes, I can't believe it.
You had a car that was right there all day, but man, you have been impressive on the tree.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, but I wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff without Ditch Witch and Collector Cars and some of my other sponsors, Southern Speed. I mean, them guys do it all for me, especially my crew.
When you came out this year with the new deal, everybody thought, well, let's see what happens. They're just match racers. Guess what, buddy? You're a national event winner for your new sponsor. What a job.
I appreciate it.
Great job.
You killed him on the lights, Mick. Killed him, buddy. Way to go.
What a story, knocking off 3 world champions to get to the final and then beat the man who by all rights should have been champion last year, Jimmy Rector. Now to our Pro Modified final, Tommy Mooney against Ricky Smith. And as you heard Tommy Mooney say earlier, I want another shot at that guy.
Yes, without question, this will be the race of the weekend. These guys have raced before. Remember, Mooney's a former Pro Stock world champion himself. And Tommy Mooney has won world championships in Pro Modified, a feat unaccomplished by Ricky Smith.
There you see Smith smoking the hides, laying down the rubber he needs to get optimum traction.
Note the age of Ricky Smith, 43 years old now. A little bit of age may slow you down a little bit with reaction time.
But note also his 66th IHRA final round. There is no substitute for experience. Both cars will stage very slowly, trying to psych each other out. It's all part of the game. Ricky's in first. He'll wait on Tommy Mooney to stage. Both of them are up against the rev limiters. Give the whole shot advantage to Tommy Mooney. Almost nothing. It's going to be ET down at top end. Ricky Smith, 6:58. Remember, he was setting the clutch himself. Well, it paid off. Let's take a ride with Ricky Smith, leaning his head over to get a good look at the lights, working the air shifter in the far lane. You see the competition, but he disappears. A quick look over. Hey, man, I am home free. Now you can see just exactly how close it was, because remember, their reaction times are almost identical, and that's very apparent as they leave the starting line in replay. You can see that they're side by side at the 8th mile mark. Suddenly on top end, Ricky Smith hits high gear and pulls ahead of Tommy Mooney by 2 miles per hour.
Was Bristol a fluke? Was it just a one-time deal? Was it just a pro stock racer who got in his own little pro mod and actually pulled something out of his hat? Or was it the beginning of a whole new era?
All right, with no fluke now, Brad. Well, I tell you, it sure helps a lot of self-confidence right here doing this. I mean, it's great. I appreciate IHRA having a super modified class, and Pete
yeah, that
Williams.
was 25 years ago.
Oh, man, I'm telling you, that's tough, man. Hey, Pete Williams, Pallet, Carolina Drilling, Larry Taylor, Yates helping me here. Hey, it takes money to run this thing. I just got good friends. I want to say hey to my wife, my kids, Matthew, Amanda, and Melissa.
By the way, there's one reason that all those good friends of yours came back and kind of supported you,
Well, I hope so. I hope I ain't let them down.
I had a feeling you'd do just this, buddy. Unbelievable. Points the lead for the World Championship in a third new category.
It couldn't be no better right now. Thank you.
Woo! That is 2 consecutive national event victories for Ricky Smith. I'd say he is right at home in Pro Modified. Now to our Pro Stock final, matching Floyd Cheek and Tim Neighbors. Boy, talk about a couple of veterans.
This is the number 7 and the number 9 qualifiers coming out of the middle of the field, something you don't see very often. Both of these guys have been dead on the tree all day long. And remember, they're suffering just a little bit due to the high humidity and stifling temperatures here today.
Tim Neighbors, a family racer, the entire family involved at their home in Georgia.
Cheek, the guy that stopped young Richie Stevens. Now here he is in the finals. Boy, it's going to be a big shake-up in the points after this is over. Give the starting line advantage to no one. 4:48 reaction times. This is a real drag race down to the finish line. 6:83 to a 6:93. Floyd Cheek pulls off the win.
A great run for Floyd Cheek, and as Ted mentioned, dead even at the start. 4:48 reaction times for both drivers. This was a pure out-and-out horsepower war.
Horsepower war between Ford and Chevrolet. Today it's going to be Ford wins on race day.
I just hope we can actually transpose the face of Floyd Cheek after second round and the face of Floyd Cheek right now. You thought you were cooked.
I can imagine. I felt pretty bad.
6:83, it did step up a little bit, and Tim Neighbors got to the final round and never went quicker than a 92 all day, but he left right with you again.
That happens. That's the luck of racing, and you know how it goes.
This didn't hurt any for a world championship.
Hey, we love it. I'd like to thank a few people while we're here.
Go for it.
John Causey, Jerry Bevins, and Alvin Whaley.
Yeah, that guy that owns the car, he helps a lot, doesn't he?
Alvin Whaley, and Prolong for making it possible.
Heck of a job, buddy.
Thank you, Brett. Congratulations to all of our champions, Mick Steele, Ricky Smith, and Floyd Cheek. Keep in mind, the Top Fuel machines will be back in action at our next stop in Cordova, Illinois. Check your local listing. Let's check the points, Ted.
Well, speaking of Top Fuel, nothing changed, of course, because they didn't run here. 10 points between first and second place. Can Shirley Muldowney win her first championship? Tune in next time to find out. Meanwhile, a big shakeup. Scott Wise falls down to number 2. Jimmy Rector back on top. He's been there before. Von Smith only 40 points out of second place. He could repeat. And in Pro Modified, tricky Ricky Smith has it all. What can we say? Tommy Mooney on his heels, but Ricky with a very commanding lead. And you know, over the last few years, if there's one class there's no dominant factor in, it has to be Pro Stock. Take a look at how the points got shook up. Richie Stevens fell all the way down to 4th. A new points leader, Tim Neighbors.
We hope you've enjoyed our coverage of these Crane Cams President's Cup Nationals. I'm Bob Barsha for Ted Jones and Brett Kepner. We'll see you at our next stop in Cordova, Illinois. Until then, so long from Maryland International Raceway in Budds Creek. On a beautiful day on the banks of the Mississippi River, welcome to Cordova Dragway Park, an historic quarter mile on the Illinois side of the mighty Mississippi from the Quad Cities area. I'm Bob Barsha along with Ted Jones, and we are ready for drag racing. The IHRA Snap-on Tools National Event Calendar has reached Cordova for the Summer Nationals, and we are ready with Top Fuel quarterfinals. Let's get right to it. Here is Jim Bailey, fourth in points coming into this race, and he is going up against Rhonda Hartman, who may have broken a long string of bad luck. Hartman has had a terrible time with his family-operated team getting the performance numbers she needs to be the title contender she once was.
This will be a rematch of the 1995 Winter Nationals when Rhonda Hartman went up against Jim Bailey. The result, Hartman won. See what happens this time.
5,000 horsepower plus, nitro-fueled, off the line they come. Frames twisting under the strain. Rhonda Hartman smokes the tires but wins.
And she lost a blower belt, but right after she went through the lights, a 498.
Now to our next pair. This is Danny Dunn, sixth in points coming in. He'll be going up against Tommy Johnson Jr., who returns to the series for the first time since 1994, and he's looking for some performance numbers.
Well, we were trying to run 470s all weekend, and we kept having problems. The track's actually in pretty good shape. A little loose on the top end, but that can be overcome by some other things we can change. So we're going to play it kind of conservative the first run, you know, and try and get down the racetrack and learn from that. But I think before the day's over, you'll see some mid-80s, maybe even a high 70.
Well, we've already seen a mid-80s. That's in qualifying by the queen of Top Fuel, Shirley Muldowney. We'll tell you a little more about that in a moment. Right now, it's Johnson against Dunn.
The number 4 and 5 qualifiers, Johnson fortunate to be in the field, and a red light start for Danny Dunn. Looked like he was out on Johnson. He was with a 187 foul start. Tommy Johnson Jr. a 530 as he drives around Dunn.
He didn't post a big number, but he didn't need one. Now here is Paul Romine coming back from a huge blowover. As you saw, he won the season opening Winter Nationals, blew over at the Spring Nationals. And he's going up against Doug Herbert, the four-time world champion, third in points coming into this weekend.
Doug Herbert qualified for this field barely, number 7 position, running 5.0s. Half of the field qualified in the 4th.
And everybody on top of the new national record. This was Paul Romine's qualifying run. He came up 8/1000ths of a second short of Shirley Muldowney and still thinks he could have gotten her.
The track could have been a little better if we'd have got out earlier on in the session, but this little track's coming around real well. You know, it was a good pass for us. It's really the first full pass down the track for us this weekend. We were dealing with some tune-up problems first pass, and then the second pass we broke the throttle linkage, so we didn't really get much feedback from this track yet. But last night Clayton put it all together and did his normal wizardry and worked out well for us.
Clayton, of course, is legendary tuner Clayton Harris. This is a matchup worthy of a national event final. The two winners in our two Top Fuel competitions this year, you're on board with Paul Romine against Doug Herbert.
Romine pulls it out with a 497, 276 miles per hour.
And he did it in a big cloud of smoke. I think he hurt that combination. And now we'll save the best for last. David Bieneman, 7th in points coming in, but he's going up against Shirley Muldowney, who laid down that incredible run in qualifying, a 486 with a 1. Here's how it unfolded.
This run will cause Shirley to take the points lead as she sets the IHRA record. Those record points put her around Romine. She's now your points leader.
And now she brings her Top Fuel machine to the line, tuned by her husband, Ron Tobler. They've been going for numbers in every round of every competition this year. Launched.
We have not seen a 300-mile-per-hour run. We have 4 second ones. We have now 301.20 miles per hour for Shirley. Couple that to a 499.
So here are the matchups in the Top Fuel semifinals. By virtue of their quicker ETs, Shirley Muldowney will have lane choice against Tommy Johnson Jr. Rhonda Hartman will decide which lane Paul Romine will start in. Meanwhile, in the staging lanes, the alcohol funny car pilots are strapping in. There's the world champion, Vaughn Smith. There's a story about him we'll have when we return.
You can dust and dust, but you'll never get your home dust-free with these old-fashioned things. They just push the dust around. But now there's the Magna Duster, the incredible duster that works like a magnet. This extraordinary duster actually creates an electrical charge that attracts dust like a magnet. Look, you can actually see the dust as it's pulled off the surface and into the Magna Duster. Incredible! Watch again as the dust jumps off the table and into the Magna Duster. Those other dusters just can't get these shutters clean. But Magna Duster conforms to the tightest places, grabbing onto the dirt and holding it tight. Watch it work on these mini blinds, pulling the dust out of those hard-to-reach places just like a magnet. It's much faster than other methods. A table full of collectibles can be such a chore, but not anymore. The fibers actually reach out and grab the dust without disturbing a thing. Use it on all your electronics. Pull dust right off the TV. Magna Duster gets into those tight places other dusters can't go. Now you can dust your whole house in half the time. It's amazing. And the soft fibers come clean with soap and water. Try that with your feather duster. Call and get your Magna Duster today. Only $19.95 on this exclusive TV offer. But wait, you'll also get a second Magna Duster. Plus, we'll include the extended handle, perfect for those hard-to-reach places. And the Magna Duster is bendable, so you clean the top of ceiling fans or under the cabinets. There's more. You also get the mini Magna Duster, great for the car, perfect for the office. It's Magna Duster, the complete kit for the amazing price of just $19.95. It really is a dust magnet.
To order your incredible Magna Duster for only $19.95, have your credit card ready and call 1-800-391-9874 or send check or money order to this address. But for a faster delivery, call right now. 1-800-391-9874. 1-800-391-9874.
Welcome back to Cordova, Illinois, and the Revesto Summer Nationals on the IHRA Snap-on Tools National Event Trail. I'm Bob Barsha, along with Ted Jones. Here's Brett Kepner.
Well, gentlemen, this is easily one of the most historic stops on the Snap-on Tools Tour. Cordova Drag Strip, which opened in late 1956, is one of the oldest active drag strips in the nation. And this racetrack has had its own series of history with one of the longest running events of all time, the World Series of Drag Racing, that has actually been contested since 1953. But with this first national event stop here, a lot of people were concerned about the brand new asphalt surface. An awful lot of improvements were made to Cordova Dragway, but indeed, nobody was ready for the performance this track gave up. Least of all, Shirley Muldowney, who's raced here for years on a match race level, when she came off the trailer with a 4.87 second run and then backed that up with a 4.86 effort in qualifying, she reset the IHRA's national elapsed time record, and that gave her enough points to actually overtake Paul Romine for the lead in the Snap-on Tools World Championship. Combined with that 301-mile-per-hour blast in the first round of eliminations, you would think that the Action Racing Collectibles team has a handle on this thing. But that's the second engine that's going in for the second round. They're having problems with main bearings, and indeed, that could be a costly effort if it continues. But one thing's for sure, if they've got the points lead, they're not willing to give anything up, least of all a little bit of metal. The weather conditions are wild here. It's been 3 different days of drag racing. Today is brand new for everybody. Bob Varsho, what are the weather stats?
Here they come, Brett. The temperature, a nice, comfortable 78 degrees, relatively mild humidity. The barometer 30.02 and rising, and that's the important number for engine tuners. Barometric pressure means horsepower. Ready for quarterfinal action in alcohol funny car now. Here's Butch Kernodle from Virginia Beach, Virginia, into the quarterfinals for the first time this year. And here's the world champ, Vaughn Smith, running Hoosier Slicks and looking for some performance.
We're struggling. I mean, as far as that goes, we really are. It hasn't been like last year. Last year, it didn't matter if you lined up the starting line, the thing would go 590 or 6 flat, pointing it down the track. hadn't been that way this year. I don't know if it's just the tires or what it is, but because the car obviously has the horsepower, it wouldn't have run 234 in 95-degree heat.
Most of the top teams in Top Fuel alcohol funny car run good years. But Smith going with the Hoosiers. He's also suffering from some stomach distress this year, and he gets left at the line. That's because the other guy fouled.
Butch Kernodle's usually an upset expert. Vaughn Smith, a 6:02, moves into the semifinals. You cannot leave before the green light. The perfect light is 0.4 of a second. Here comes a 4-time world champ, Mark Thomas, the farmer from Ohio, going up against Canadian Larry Dobbs. And Thomas, though he won the season opener, hasn't gotten to the semifinals in the last 2 national events. But he still is number 4 in points, Bob, and so he's right in striking distance. However, he'll have his hands full with Larry Dobbs, who has really been running this year.
Dobbs out of Welland, Ontario, Canada, hoping for his first semifinal of the season thus far.
For those of you that don't follow the IHRA Trail regularly, we might point out that Mark Thomas has an unusual fuel. He grows his own fuel. He runs ethanol, which is an alcohol fuel made from corn.
At the big spread in Louisville, Ohio, almost identical reaction times, just 1,000th of a second apart. Big smoke, problems mechanically for Thomas, but he wins.
Thomas has seriously hurt that engine. As a matter of fact, he slid around just a little bit in his own oil as he brings it to a stop. We'll look at it one more time. When he comes off the pad, everything looks fine. Down about the 8th mile, suddenly you see the smoke. The car begins to weave and bob just a little bit.
6:24 and shutting off early, and you got out of there mighty quick.
Yeah, when it blew the rod, they had to blow the crank out of the bottom. All of a sudden, oil just comes flat in the car, and I thought, I don't see him, I'm going to floor it anyhow, right? I mean, we're here to win a world championship, and we won Darlington. We fell out bad the last 2 races. We've got all the talent in the world here. We just got to make our thing happen.
Determination is the key. You're the winner.
Hey, between farming and drag racing, I don't do nothing easy, and we'll be here. Thank you.
There's a couple of tough professions for you, and there you see, testament to the problems he had. A lot of oil left on the racetrack. On to our next pair. Here's a local favorite, Dan Crownhard from Sterling, Illinois. First time we've seen his 97 Camaro this year. He'll be going up against the points leader in Jimmy Rector out of Vernon, Alabama. Still looking for his first win of the year, however. He's been in the last 2 finals.
Rector was the heavy last year, really went round and round. Vaughn Smith barely nosed him out, and look at Rector go on top end. 225 miles per hour. Couple that to a 6:14.
So he trailers the local favorite, and we move on. Here comes the story. Scott Weiss from Ashland, Virginia, still using borrowed bodywork after destroying his car in testing. He's going up against the newest sensation in the class in Mick Steele from Loganville, Georgia.
Scott Weiss currently number 2 in the points, which is, as you said, Bob, truly incredible because he had to really go through this car to get it to run. And Mick Steele, the Cinderella story from Budds Creek, Maryland. If you watched a few weeks ago, that win catapulted him right up into the number 5 position.
Up come the revs. Advantage off the line to Steele, but now Weiss runs. Steele gets out of it. Weiss will advance.
6:10, 229 miles per hour for the number 1 qualifier. He may pick up another victory.
Here are the semifinal matchups in Alcohol Funny. Vaughn Smith will have lane choice over Jimmy Rector, and Scott Weiss will have lane choice against Mark Thomas. In a moment, we'll be back with Pro Modified. There's the points leader, Ricky Smith. And from South Carolina, Ed Hoover. Stay with us.
Explosive, uncontrollable. It's 0 to 300 or 0 to oblivion in a heartbeat. It's the fastest, often most terrifying few seconds in sport, and anything can happen. Now, for the first time, you can own the most spectacular collection of crashes, crunches, and things gone terribly wrong. With Crash and Crunch video. See nitro-belching quarter-mile monsters, soaring top fuel hydros, stock cars, door slammers, and more. Order Crash and Crunch today and receive absolutely free nighttime fuel and fire and track freaks, featuring high-octane explosions, rolling fireballs, jet dragsters, and other freaks of the strip. To slow down after watching these videos, you better pack a chute. Order today and receive all 3 videos for only $19.95 plus shipping and handling. These videos are going fast. fast, so order now. Call 1-800-664-5600 or send check or money order to the address on the screen. Satisfaction guaranteed.
You're right. The way to do it is take the body out and the head's going to fall. You got to rip. You got to dig.
Sunday Night Boxing on ESPN2.
Welcome back to Cordova, Illinois. This is Dale Brinsfield in Pro Modified out of Greensboro, North Carolina, using 632 cubic inches on nitrous oxide injection for the third straight race in our 16-car qualified field. No supercharged drivetrains. And after the controversy of several years ago, nitrous or supercharged, it's an all-nitrous field.
After Dale Brinsfield upset the #1 qualifier, Wally Stroop, in the first round, Ed Hoover has to have that on his mind. Brinsfield was the number 16 qualifier, was on the bubble, and he has Hoover this round.
Off the line, advantage to Brinsfield, but here comes Hoover, who drives around and wins.
Ed Hoover with a 667, 210 miles per hour. That's pretty good in this heat.
Now here comes the points leader, winner of the last 2 national events, Ricky Smith, who says Cordova is a very tricky racetrack.
Seems like the first 200-300 feet's okay. You know, it's not bad, but it's not great. So it's in the middle, and then from the last 300 feet to the finish line, it's pretty bumpy and pretty rough. The biggest thing is to try to be straight and on a decent run when you come off a cement pad at the 300-foot mark. If you're crooked when you get to the 300-foot mark, you're in trouble the rest of the way. You're about going to have to shut the car off.
Well, that'll come as sour news to his opponent, Dan Bandish out of Melbourne, Florida, looking for his first appearance this season in the semifinals.
Bandish stopped Michael Martin in the most previous round with a 674. You can bet that's on Ricky's mind as we ride with him down the Cordova quarter mile and watch him cruise to an easy victory. Bandish ran a 962, Ricky a 662.
Now here comes Tommy Mooney, and you can't blame this guy, the former world champ, if he's thinking ahead towards Ricky Smith. I mentioned that Smith has won the last 2 races in a row. Both times he has beaten Mooney. And there's Mooney's opponent in this round, Brian Gamm from Lucasville, Ohio.
Obviously, Tommy Mooney, the number 2 in points, right behind Ricky, knocking on the door. And believe me, he's a definite threat with 2 runner-up finishes.
Another pair of 63 Corvettes, 6 of the 8 survivors to this round using 63 Corvette bodywork.
Good green light start. Brian Gamm was off the line first, but now Tommy motors around him with a 209 mile per hour top end charge.
Well, I wonder if there's not something about that right-hand lane. Most of the winners have come from the left. Final pair, Carl Moyer, the car dealer from Ankeny, Iowa, in his 69 Chevy Camaro, up against Ronnie Hood from Lenoir, South Carolina, in a 66 Corvette.
Moyer with the only Camaro in the field. Pull for him. It's a Rally Sport Super Sport car. Yeah, a 420 reaction time. Didn't hurt that effort either. A 663. He's a definite threat.
So here are the assignments for the semifinals of Pro Mod. Carl Moyer will have lane choice against Ed Hoover, and the lane decision will go to Tommy Mooney in his matchup with Ricky Smith. That one will be worth the price of admission. In a moment, Pro Stock. There's Illini Tony Gillig, who'll have a lot of fans in the stand, and the #1 qualifier, Angelo Alesi. Stay with us.
And so, after 35 years, I return to Russell, Kansas, to my friends and my family, to that very special place where they always called me by my first name. Great lunch. Barb, take a check.
Of course, Bob. Can I see some ID? Driver's license?
Considered the Visa check card? It automatically deducts from your checking account everywhere. Visa's accepted. No ID needed. It works like a check, only better.
I just can't win.
Want to make your car look new? Armor All Protecting. The dash, the tires, the trim. It's new car juice. It doesn't just shine, it protects. So your car doesn't just look new, it keeps looking new. Armor All.
We asked some of Hollywood's hottest stuntmen to try Degree.
What's body heat activate?
As your body heat rises, Degree releases extra protection when you need it most.
I heated up, and it cooled me down. I was on fire, and I was dry.
Body heat activated Degree. Your body heat turns it on.
What are we doing after the game?
The Revolution's playing tonight.
How are we going to watch it?
Winalda ordered the MLS ESPN shootout.
That's a lot of extra games. Games you can't see any other way. Neola has it too.
But Neola's TV's only this big.
It's not that small. Winalda's TV's huge. And he makes those little pigs in blankets. Winalda's plays tonight. I'll bring chips.
The MLS ESPN shootout. Snacks not included.
Anyone coming to my place?
Back at the Rebestos Summer Nationals, there is Shirley Muldowney. As usual, surrounded by fans. Meanwhile, over in Tommy Johnson's top fuel pits, the driver is working on the magnetos, those incredible instruments that turn a little electrical power into a lot. Pro Stock quarterfinals. We're on racing gas. Engines up around 800 cubic inches. Jerry Yeoman, 8th in points coming into the weekend, going up against Pete Berner. This is another Middle American battle. Yeoman from Galena, Kansas. Berner from Crete, Illinois.
Every time Jerry Yeoman gets up against youth, he has a problem with it. He's been a runner-up last year twice to two very young drivers. Now here he is up against the number 3 qualifier, Pete Berner, in his 97 Monte Carlo. Big advantage off the line to Yeoman. But Berner, whoa, side by side at half track, Yeoman squeaks it out. They both ran 6.96. Give the whole shot to Yeoman. He'll move into the semifinal.
I don't know how he did that. Now here's our most recent winner, Floyd Cheek from Soddy Daisy, Tennessee, in his 95 Ford Probe, 812 cubic inches of Ford V8. And our world champion, who's having some problems getting on the scoreboard, John Yoke from Ellenboro, West Virginia.
Remember, watch Yoke, though. The guy can't win a national event, but he can win a world championship. So he's dangerous at any time. Cheek number 3 in the points, Yoke number 7.
Yoke with the advantage off the line, but they're side by side. In fact, Cheek has a slight advantage, and he keeps it.
Floyd Cheek, a 689 at 202 miles per hour. He's into the semis.
And the world champion is yet to get out of the second round this year. Now here's Angelo Alesi, a winner once this year, but his luck has been a roller coaster. At our most recent race at Budge, Maryland, he had the field covered and broke on the start line. And there is Tim Neighbors, the points leader, the runner-up at our most recent race in Maryland out of Lawrenceville, Georgia.
And Tim Neighbors, who is leading the points, qualified number 8 at this particular event, has really been on a romp with that new 97 Monte Carlo.
Pretty even start. Alesi hurt his arm earlier in the weekend go-karting with his crew. He's got some kind of problem. Easy advance for Tim Neighbors.
Boy, Alesi really snake bit this year. He can get the car to run, and he keeps having weird things occur to take him out of the race.
Final pair now. Here is the young phenom, the teenager from New Orleans, Louisiana, Richie Stevens, who won the season opener, but has been pretty much nowhere. Hasn't gotten out of the first round in the last 2 national events. Going up against Tony Gillig, the number 2 qualifier out of Lake Zurich, Illinois.
And Gillig with the only true Oldsmobile, an Oldsmobile engine in a 97 Cutlass, stopped the Stu Evans Lincoln Mercury. We'd have had 2 young lions on the line.
The 2 biggest engines in the field, 814 cubic inches each. Big advantage off the line for Stevens. Can he hold it? It looks like he will.
Good thing he had that hole shot, a 691 with a 9 to a quicker 691 with a 4 for Tony Gillig. The 4:43 reaction time puts Stevens in the semis.
And Stevens will have lane choice in his matchup with Jerry Yeoman. Tim Neighbors will give up lane choice to Floyd Cheek in the other half of the Kraken. We'll be back with second round of Top Fuel. Shirley is in and ready to go.
My biggest asset's my people. They're experts in solving your problem.
This is Ron Camerata, Federated Store Manager. He's been in the parts business 31 years.
Federated has quality products, quality people, and we're very competitive. Customers call, they ask your advice, they ask your help for things. That's part of being a store manager. And that's rewarding because they know that you've gone out of your way to give them what they need.
When you want the best parts and expert advice, go to your Federated Auto Parts store.
Your heart pounds. Your head rings. Your
palms sweat. Imagine how the drivers feel. Michael Andretti, Bobby Rahal, Jimmy Vasser, the US 500. Sunday, July 27th, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 Central on ABC. Kart Championship Auto Racing Teams. Feel the speed.
It's homeward bound in the 97 Tour de France. Riders let it out as they cross the Swiss Alps, take a last lap around Disneyland Paris, and head for the Champs-Élysées. The Tour de France, Stage 20, today at 4:30 on ESPN.
Welcome back to the IHRA Summer Nationals at Cordova. I'm Bob Barsha along with Ted Jones. Before we get to the second round of Top Fuel, here's Brett Kepner with a Top Fuel story in this edition of Drag Review.
At the recent IHRA Prolonged Super Lubricant Spring Nationals, we witnessed the second blowover in IHRA Top Fuel drag racing history when World Championship points leader Paul Romine went for the ride of his returning life. Having been out of the sport for some 18 years, his return to IHRA at Darlington ended up in a win, but this ride was not what he had in mind. However, within days, he was back, having purchased a new car to use as a backup for the remainder of the tour, and for that matter, coming to Cordova, Illinois, the site of the Summer Nationals the week beforehand, to test his new car on the next surface on which he'd race. All that added up to some mighty impressive performance figures with a brand new race car. We asked Paul about the ride at Bristol. Put yourself in that car in the starting line on the semifinal round and tell me all about it.
Well, it was actually it was old home week. As the car left on the burnout, I knew the car was back. We've been messing around with clutch discs all weekend and kind of struggling, and I tell you can tell this baby when she's in a burnout. It felt real good. Now I had a big old smile on my face in that helmet. We're good, but I knew Clayton was back. He had this baby right. So step of the throttle, she picked the front wheels up like she normally does. She's hauling right on down through there, and they came up a little higher than normal, and I give her a little breath of air, and they came back down and settled, and then normally it'll go on down, and it'll continue to be on the pavement, but then it'll skip them all the way to the end of the run. Well, it did all that, and the wheels were down, and they started doing that skipping, and the first skip that it did, there's a bump there in that left lane. And when they hit that bump, she skipped the front wheels up again. We also had about a 30-knot headwind that day. The clutch locked up at the same time. I think we started getting more air than we normally do, and it was just off to the races after that. After I saw the front end come up and I was into blue sky, I'm thinking, man, we're into a blowover. And I started pulling and pushing anything in there to see if I could get this baby to quit doing it, but obviously it wasn't. So, I mean, at that point, you just say, okay, we're along for the ride. You got to understand, I mean, it's forever in there. I mean, it's a lifetime in there. And I'm thinking, okay, and I'm not hearing anything real loud, and I'm just sitting there waiting. God, why isn't this damn thing over yet? Fuel started running out of the front tank, and I was like, you know, I'm okay, Ma, I'm out of here. So I flipped the switch, and I was out of here. That was it.
He's never been short on determination. It's that kind of drive that made him the first 5-second driver of a front-engine Top Fuel dragster before he came back to IHRA Championship drag racing. And with the kind of drive he's exhibiting, obviously he's a contender for a world championship in his first year back. That's this edition of Drag Review. And remember, you can get all the news on the new cars and results from every IHRA Snap-on Tools National event inside IHRA's Drag Review magazine. You can subscribe by becoming a member of the International Honda Association. Simply call the 1-800 number you see on your screen, 1-800-554-9000. With your membership, you'll receive 22 issues of Drag Review magazine, a jacket patch, a membership card, an IHRA rulebook, and, of course, all the benefits that come with being an IHRA member. Join the IHRA family of fast friends. And if you subscribe now, you'll get this copy of Quarter Mile Crashes, the wildest moments in IHRA Snap-on Tools drag racing history, all caught on video.
All right, thanks very much, Brett. We're going to have to add Paul Romine to that Quarter Mile Crashes tape. Here comes Shirley Muldowney. What hasn't she done this year on the IHRA Tour? Under 5 seconds, over 300 miles an hour. And here comes Tommy Johnson Jr. returning to the series for the first time since 1994. A family operation, and they can post some serious numbers. The #1 qualifier in Shirley against the #4 man in Tommy Johnson.
And Tommy only mustered up a 5:30 on the most previous run. But remember, Tommy Johnson Jr. is very dangerous. He comes into the IHRA event, only hits about 2 of them a year, and is upset-minded. Shirley, on the other hand, has been running 300 in the 4s consistently, and more than anything, she wants an IHRA World Championship really bad.
Off the line at Shirley, Tommy has the advantage at mid-track.
Well, Shirley did her job with a 4:57 reaction time, but the ET wasn't there. A 5:03 spells doom. Tommy Johnson reached down into his bag of tricks and came up with a 4:93. You can see Shirley was off the line first, but Tommy had her caught before they got to the 300-foot mark.
You said it was a close race, and thank goodness for horsepower, my friend. She murdered you on the tree, but you drove around 493 to her 502, and it was only 300s at the finish line.
Yeah, you know, I saw her go in deep there, and I wanted her to get in there, so she couldn't set herself real good in deep, but it bit me a little bit, but we tuned her up a little bit. I think track's pretty good now. We got a lot more left now.
Yeah, it's good for you. I mean, you figured it out perfect. Good job.
Thank you.
Tell by the way Tommy Johnson Jr. was breathing, this is hard work. There's Paul Romine in his office, getting set for his matchup with Rhonda Hartman.
Rhonda Hartman-Smith, the other IHRA Top Fuel lady involved in the sport, has not been in the winner's circle since the 1995 Winter Nationals in Darlington, South Carolina, so she is overdue. Now, if she can stop Romine, you know what that sets up for the final, Bob?
She'll have to take on the home favorite in Tommy Johnson Jr. from just across the river in Iowa. For her part, however, Rhonda Hartman just loves this racetrack.
I have a short shutdown area. I know that. I know Danny Dunn had problems with that. His chutes didn't come out. And I know I pulled both chutes that has a short shutdown area. But overall, I mean, the crowd's been here, and they've been really supporting us. And the track condition, I mean, the first half of the track is excellent. And, you know, get some runs on it and get some rubber down there. And I'm sure, I mean, there's been some good runs already. So it's a really good track.
Well, we're about to see who has it dialed in best. Both of these drivers have terrific help. Paul Romine is wrenched by Clayton Harris, a former driver in his own right, while John Smith wrenches for his wife, Rhonda Hartman.
Nearly equal reaction times. You're on board with Paul Romine, and you can see Rhonda Hartman pulling away. What you can't see is the tire smoke off of Paul Romine's tires. He slowed to a 5:37. You see Rhonda Hartman ran an 04.
So the final round matchup in Top Fuel will be Tommy Johnson Jr. against Rhonda Hartman, and Ms. Hartman will decide where Tommy Johnson Jr. starts.
I don't know who's happier, Shirley and her crew or you. That was a big round for you. It looks like you got it figured out.
Oh, our team's done an awesome job, and they're great. They worked really hard, and I don't know what we ran, but it sure felt good. It was kind of slowing down at the end. I don't know if it's spinning tires again.
What was it set up for, out of curiosity?
We were just wanted to get down through the track. We didn't want to go smoke tires or do anything stupid. We just want to get down there.
It went 5:04, so it was about where you'd had it.
It's staying real consistent. I mean, it's getting through the rounds, and we're in the final.
Now, is lane choice going to be a problem in the final?
Not at all. Everybody's had lane choice against us. They've been putting us in the left lane, and we've been getting down through there and getting the wins.
Sure have. Good job. Welcome back.
Thanks.
Welcome back, Rhonda, and we'll be back in just a moment.
I've never seen a bait that would do all this. Oh, man! What a fish!
It's amazing, totally amazing.
Whoa.
It's unbelievable.
Got a big fish. Very impressive. Just is amazing.
There's only one fishing lure proven to catch all these fish and virtually every species of game fish in North America. It's the Banjo Minnow, the world's first and only genetic response fishing lure.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bill Dance. But I'm here to tell you that the Banjo Minnow is truly the most exciting thing I've seen in a mighty long time.
Predator fish are genetically programmed to attack and eat crippled, dying minnows. The Banjo Minnow perfectly mimics the spastic action of a wounded minnow. A movement so realistic and so irresistible to predator fish that it can actually trigger a genetic response, compelling them to bite, even when they are not hungry. Both in the wild and at sportsman shows across the country, the Banjo Minnow has proved itself again and again and again that it will outfish every fishing lure in existence today.
We had made a fishing lure that actually made fish bite, even if they weren't hungry.
And it works. Everywhere you want to fish.
I've not missed a fish on the banjo minnow.
It's just unbelievable. They're going to have to outlaw it.
I was really impressed.
There won't be a fish left in the world.
The Banjo Minnow's unique patent-pending rubber weed guard lets every fisherman fish anywhere, by the trees, over logs, on top of docks, right where the big ones are. Have your credit card ready and call now to order the complete 110-piece Banjo fishing system. You get 24 Banjo Minnows in 3 different sizes and 4 colors. Banjo weedless bait hooks, counterbalance jigs, and much, much more. All yours for only $29.95. For faster service, have your credit card ready and call the number on your screen right now.
This bait is phenomenal.
Welcome back to the Raybesto Summer Nationals, presented by Parts Plus and Giant Whitlock. I'm Bob Barsha, along with Ted Jones. We are ready for Pro Modified semifinals. Our first matchup from Gilbert, South Carolina, the '63 Corvette of Ed Hoover, going up against Carl Moyer out of Ankeny, Iowa, with that beautiful '69 Chevy Camaro bodywork.
And you know, he said he wasn't going to race. He sold his '37 Chevrolet, then he ended up buying, this is the old Dam's toy car from the Full Wiley and Felton racing team up in Detroit. Couldn't stay away. When it gets in your blood, you're hooked, Bob.
The number off the line goes to Moyer, but only slightly, by 100th of a second, but then he has a mechanical problem. Hoover will take the easy win.
A 742, that's not indicative of anything except that he saved the motor at 151 miles per hour, and he definitely just gave up lane choice.
Now over in the alcohol funny car pits, anybody want to use block? There's one. That one belongs to Mark Thomas, who absolutely ruined it in his run in the quarterfinals. And look at the guys working on the car. There's Mick Steele, a driver in the red shorts, working on the front end. His crew helping Rick Hickman and Thomas's crew get ready for their next pass.
That's not unusual to see in IHRA drag racing, a very common occurrence.
Hi, Mom. It says on the side of Ricky Smith's helmet. Now, Ricky's got to be careful. He's driving somebody else's car. He sold this car. He'll have a new number for the next stop on the IHRA National Event Tour. But right now, he's going to need to use all of it. Third matchup of the year with former world champ Tommy Mooney. You can bet Mooney really wants to beat Smith this time around.
The number 2 and 3 qualifiers, the number 1 and 2 in the points. This should be the final, and it could be. The guy that wins this race may well win the race overall.
Tommy Mooney is 0-2 against the new guy in Pro Modified this year, and Ricky Smith. Who cares that he's won 5 or 6 World Championships and other classes, and he red lights does Smith.
So Tommy Mooney will get to go in the final, really shake the points up. 662, 206 miles per hour, where he will face Ed Hoover.
Oh my, our final round matchup, Tommy Mooney against Ed Hoover. Lane choice to Mooney. Wow, I can't get over that. Smith has been beaten, and he missed the lights by 13 one-thousandths of a second. Pro Stock is next. You want focus? There's Floyd Cheek, and there's Richie Stevens. We'll be back to Cordova.
The Bose Wave Radio was created around the idea of simplicity. Its award-winning audio technology delivers rich, lifelike sound that radio world called simply amazing. And yet it's so small, so simple, it could only be from Bose. Just use this handy remote to get room-filling sound from a radio that's compact and easy to use. Bose even made the ordering process, well, simple. Just call the number on your screen. And paying for the Wave Radio is simple. Just make 6 monthly payments, interest-free. Bose will even deliver the radio right to your door. Try it out for 30 days, risk-free. If you're not completely satisfied, just call Bose. They'll refund the purchase price, arrange to pick up the radio, and pay all shipping charges. Simple as that. Okay, so one thing's not so simple. Deciding on a color. Pearl white or graphite gray. Call today to take advantage of the in-home trial or to learn more about the Bose Wave Radio. It's that simple, except for the color part.
For years, ESPN has been working to improve sports for the fan.
Designed to extend the season for fans in places like frigid Lambeau Field, the Toasty Ball is heated by a small plutonium furnace. But at 130 degrees, it's too hot to handle.
But experiments like Toasty Ball did lead to a breakthrough in coverage for all sports. ESPN Sports Zone. With Chris Mortenson's column, drive charts, everything you need to be a better fan. ESPN Sports Zone. Technology for you.
Welcome back to the Raybesto Summer Nationals, 4th round of the IHRA Snap-on Tools National Event Calendar. Before we get back to the action, let's talk about technology. Here's Brett Kepner with a track fact.
The man behind Rhonda Hartman's entire top fuel operation, her father Virgil, is always good for a couple of new tricks, including this one. Now, this Fram filter is typical of the remote units used in top fuel racing, but unfortunately it has a removable core, and when pressure builds up, it sometimes blows the whole unit right out of its plug, oiling down the car and the racetrack. But Fram came out with this new screw-on metal casing, so that indeed if it builds up pressure, it reverts all the way back down to its mount, and therefore will not blow the oil all over the racetrack, but simply send it back into a bypass system. It's a slick piece, and it'll be on there in the final round.
All right, thanks, Brett. Contrast to the calm in the Hartman pits. Look at the activity in Tommy Johnson Jr.'s pit. Well, they must have to get over the lanes early to get their pictures taken or something. Better change their shirts before they go. We are ready now for the Pro Stock semifinals. Actor and racing driver Paul Newman once said experience and treachery will beat youth and enthusiasm every time. We're about to find out. Here comes the vastly experienced Jerry Yeoman up against the teenage phenom Richie Stevens. You can see as the best reaction time thus far, cat-like reflexes for young Richie Stevens, who has been the personal protege to Roy Hill, his pride and joy out of his drag racing school. It gets tougher with every round you advance. This one may be won at the line. Two very evenly matched cars. Ford against Oldsmobile, and Youth wins the reaction time contest. A 5:02 to a 5:22. Stevens, wow, what a finish. Richie Stevens nosed him out. A 6:86 to a quicker but losing 6:85 for Jerry Yeoman. What did I say about cat-like reflexes? Oh, man, I think he won that by the thickness of the wax job on the nose of the car. Our next pair, Tim Neighbors, the points leader, going up against our most recent winner, Floyd Cheek. Now, this is another great matchup. Yes, it is. The number 1 and the number 3 in points currently. Number 4 and number 8 qualifier. Who's the number 8 qualifier? Tim Neighbors. Unbelievable with him leading the points chase. And it's the age-old battle, the one all the drag fans love, Chevrolet against Ford. Again, Youth wins out. Tim Neighbors, the second-generation drag racer with a 4:48 reaction time. He's pulling out on Cheek. He's got him. 6:91 to a quicker but losing 6:88. This race is going to be decided on the starting line. Reaction time is what's winning the race.
It was almost 2 years ago that we talked about the radial keratotomy explosion in pro stock drag racing, and Tim Neighbors was one of the first guys to have the eye surgery that helped him become one of the best levers in the sport. 6:91 to Floyd's losing 6:88.
Well, I knew I had to go. Floyd had been running good all weekend, and I had to do all I could do, and so far it's worked out pretty good.
This has got to be a lot of pressure on your shoulders. Every time you pull one, you got to hit the tree.
Well, I mean, you go to the starting line to do your best every time, and if it works, it works. If it don't, it don't. I mean, you can't take a chance on anybody.
You're hanging on to the points lead, but obviously you're going to be the old man in the final round.
Yeah, maybe I can hang on.
One more time.
Thank you.
Okay, we have our final round matchup. It will be Tim Neighbors against Richie Stevens, and the younger man will have lane choice. There is Mark Thomas. Repairs to the car are now complete. It's time to suit up and strap in. Alcohol funnies when we come back.
To most people, this is just a uniform. But to me, it's something more. Every time I put it on, it makes me feel better and stronger than I was yesterday. When I'm in this uniform, I know no limits. You gotta see the pride in my mom's eyes. Or the way my friends look up to me. But none of that matches the satisfaction I feel inside. That's the pride of being a soldier in the U.S. Army.
Interested in wearing this uniform? Then now is the best time to call this toll-free number, because we've got new incentives that make joining more rewarding than ever. Now you can earn up to $40,000 for college. Or if you have college loans, we'll help you pay back up to $65,000. Or you may qualify for an enlistment bonus of up to $12,000. Ready to wear this uniform? Call now for more information. There's no obligation. Call today. Find out how the Army can bring out the best
of what's inside you.
You. Be all you can be.
ESPN News? Yeah, great. Great timing, guys. Played for 13 years and I retire, and now you're coming out with this sports news channel? Oh, this is great. All these scores and highlights are really going to help my career. Look at me now. Gardening. Thanks from the bottom of my heart. No, really, truly, thanks. Appreciate it. Idiots. Ridiculous. Morons. You guys want to kick my dog while you're here?
Welcome back to Cordova, Illinois. There is Vaughn Smith, the Alcohol Funny Car World Champion, fired and ready to go. Before we get to him, here's Brett Kepner.
Well, he may be the hometown boy here at Cordova Dragway Park. He is indeed racing for his racing career. Along with crew chief Tim Cushy, whose funny car career goes back some 25, 30 years. Tommy Johnson Jr. is right now faced with a bad situation financially. You've got to do good here because there's nothing else coming in right now.
Well, we don't expect it to run anymore after this, so a win here would be real nice to take home that big paycheck.
This was going to be your last race of the season?
Yeah, this might be it. It doesn't look, and we haven't had any plans past this, so right now this probably be it.
Any prospects sponsorship-wise?
Well, the thing's green and yellow, so hopefully we're right here in their backyard and they will like what they see. We're doing it with a local implement dealer now, but maybe the corporate world will step in.
So one would think that with your ability and the way you've had success in your IHRA appearances, that somebody would pay attention.
I'd sure like to be at Stanton here in a few weeks.
Stanton, Michigan, the next stop at the IHRA Snap-on Tools National Event Trail. Ready for the semifinals now of Alcohol Funny Car. There's Jimmy Rector on his game as always. The man who edged him out for the World Championship last year, Vaughn Smith.
As a matter of fact, these guys have met 3 times, and in that meeting session, Vaughn Smith won 1, Rector won 2. That was last year. Vaughn Smith, the champion. Jimmy Rector, though, leading the points currently, the number 2 and 3 qualifiers at this event. You couldn't get them matched up much more evenly than this, Bob.
Keep in mind, Vaughn Smith not feeling at his best. Good launch for both drivers.
Give the advantage to Vaughn Smith with a 480 reaction time. What a drag race. Vaughn Smith, a 6:06. Rector lost it with a 6:08.
Next up will be Mark Thomas looking for another win in his matchup with one of the toughest dogs on the porch, Scott Weiss. There is Weiss, still using that very different sort of bodywork. First, here's Brett.
That was a drag race, 6:06 to 6:08.
Hey, I love Jimmy to death. I really do, but he is without a doubt the toughest guy in the world to run. And I don't know, to come off with a win, that's great. I mean, I give it to the guys again. Like I said, I don't know if I was late or not, but I have been all day, and the car's still running pretty good.
How are we feeling?
Just puny, that's all. Nothing like this boy.
It's that out-of-town water, I'm telling you.
I hope that's all it is. It needs to be gone.
All right, here is our semifinal matchup of the second half of the Alcohol Funny Car draw. Scott Weiss still using a Dodge Avenger body, all dressed up with Ford Mustang decals. That's what he started the season with before he blew that piece of bodywork all to bits. He'll be back with his Ford Mustang before long. Going up against Mark Thomas, this should be a great one.
Scott Weiss qualified number 1, and now you're going to see why. Watch that car move on top end. Scott Weiss, 6'10", 229 miles per hour.
And it looked like Mark Thomas's car just staggered a bit off the line. Watch the left-hand lane.
You can see Scott Weiss was first off the line, a 471 to a 543.
You get the feeling that that one-round win is just a part of an amazing story that's developing here. Borrowed car, especially after what you went through at Budds Creek. It's amazing. 6'10".
6'10". Well, that's consistent anyway. I think I'll dial 09 next round. No, Sherwin-Williams Mustang, I mean, it's just awesome. It's laying down nice, smooth passes. Mark Thomas is such a competitor, and going in there doing that burnout first kind of shook everybody up, I think, shook the troops up, but I think we got the composure together enough to make that round.
Like I said, this has turned into an amazing story, and it's going to be a drag race in the final because you know Smith's right there.
Yeah, Smith's going to be a tough competitor, but I think we can take him.
Stay with it.
Thank you.
Final round matchup, an alcohol funny car. Vaughn Smith and Scott Weiss, the number 1 qualifier against number 3. Smith will have lane choice. It's happy hour here in the Quad Cities area. Tommy Johnson Jr. getting ready. Rhonda Hartman-Smith will be his opponent in the finals of Top Fuel. We'll have all of our finals when we return to the banks of the Mississippi. Stay with us.
This simple-looking device is the key to unlock your body's hidden potential. It can change the look and shape of every line and curve on your body. Because it's the weight, the challenge, and the secret behind one of the most effective fitness machines in the world. Introducing the Bowflex Power Pro. Bowflex uses patented power rod resistance to give you an incredibly smooth, natural feel for over 60 different health club quality exercises. With features like a built-in aerobic rowing exercise, convertible grips, and convenient folding capabilities, it's easy to see why a Bowflex was selected by Fitness Magazine as the best home gym for 1997 and was awarded a Consumer's Digest Best Buy. It's time to get the body you want with no money down and payment